Cool. Hi, welcome to Story of Souls. We bring to you stories and people that will inspire you, motivate you, and transform, empower, and encourage you to face the challenges and failures in your life. And we always inspire you to be hopeful. My name is Neeta Maxen, your host for this evening on the show. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Let's get started. I want to take just a quick moment to thank you all who continue to support and listen to Story of Souls. We are so blessed and honored for your continued support. I want to make sure you don't miss out on any exciting happening at Story of Souls. So please keep following us. I have a great show today. I'm going to help you to embrace every single part of you. I will be interviewing our guest, our very first international guest, Devina Kaur today, who lives her life to the fullest. Devina is known as the sexy brilliant who shares her real life optimism with the world and empowers herself and others in loving themselves unconditionally. She joins us today all the way from Montreal, Canada. Story of Souls welcomes Devina Kaur. Bringing her on. Well, I wait for her to join in. Meanwhile, again, those of you who have joined in right now, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we are up for an interesting chat with Devina Kaur of Sexy Brilliant. Hi, Devina.
Hi, it's so nice to go.
I love your brand, Sexy Brilliant, and I love the way you self-love, the self-love you have for the Devina Kaur. So tell me, Devina,
So thank you
right
so
now in Canada, what time is it?
It's about 10:30 in the morning.
Okay, so all fresh after a scrumptious breakfast, I suppose.
We're trying. I'm just going to adjust my phone a little bit, and well, I guess this will do.
Cool.
Yeah,
We could have you a little more closer.
a little bit more closer.
Yes. You could
I
lower the cell a little. Yes.
Okay, hold on. Let me try. I'm just like, sorry,
Sure.
guys.
Meanwhile, everyone are joining us. It's dinner time here, and we are going to chew your brain with questions. So,
Please.
Firstly, I would like to. Yes, Devina.
I want to say, first of all, I want to say thank you so much to you, Neeta, for having me, and to your team for having me on Story of Souls. Wow, what an honor, truly. And then I want to say thank you to everybody from my team, my community, the Sexy Brilliant communities here. And, there's a lot of questions coming in about mental health, self-acceptance, and we're going to be talking about and we're going to take as many questions as we can about the idea of being sexy and being brilliant. And of course, those of you who may not know this, sexybrilliant.com is a registered nonprofit foundation to remove toxic shame and raise human consciousness. So we are very grateful that we are doing this together. So thank you so much, Neeta. Go ahead.
Thank you. And for those of you who have joined in now, it's Devina Kaur on our chat show today, our first international guest, and we are so glad to have her here. She is an epitome of, someone I could call a phoenix, who's burnt down to dust but risen again. She is the mother of a teenager. I think most of you there is looking forward to, get answers from her, how to tackle that.
Oh my God.
I think handling a teenager is the widest problem today. And yes, depression, going through divorce, marriage issues, relationship issues. We are going to beat every question around these topics. Yes, Devina, I leave to you. I would love you to fill in for me. Devina, from India to Canada, the journey before and after being in Canada, going from India. You were born in India, so very much Indian to the core. So let me know this Devina Kaur now.
Thank
Fill
you.
us in.
see so many of my people coming in. Hi Ayushi, hi Narayan, hi Simran. I thank you so much for being here. And मैं सबको नमस्ते कहूँगी. I'm going to speak a little bit in Hindi because
जी मेरा भी नमस्ते. Oh yes, you are going to actually give me a competition because me being in India, my Hindi is not that powerful.
मेरे भी हिंदी मतलब strong नहीं है, but practice makes it better, right?
Yeah. Yes, Devina. So let's get started.
Yeah. So I am actually born and raised in India, and actually born in Assam, raised in Assam, and then throughout my young years, I remember I had a big struggle of validation. You hear me? I think we're a little bit frozen. Okay, so I'll continue my story, and Neeta, if you get stuck, you let me know. Go in and out again, and we'll come back because this is a live show.
Yeah.
So born to very, very conservative parents, very traditional Punjabi family. My parents were refugees from Pakistan, so we had that blueprint. That was their blueprint, because they left everything in Pakistan in 1947, started a new life. They were children, but still, it left a lot of trauma. So I had to grow up with that, the mentality of scarcity. And then the other thing that happened to me was, as a young child, I was always overweight, and I was always told that stop eating. तुम इतना खाना खाओगी तो मोटी हो जाओगी तो शादी नहीं होगी, मोटी लड़कियों की शादी नहीं होती, which I'm going to translate in English. The messages we in India we receive as young girls is to say that stop eating food, because if you get fat, you become unworthy of getting married, and when you don't get married, it means that you're not worthy of love, right? So this was my blueprint. And then it was kind of like a big I was always careful of what I ate, but yet I was still fat, and I'm still fat, like even today, in this day, I'm still overweight, and this is what it is. So then throughout my teen years, I struggled with being fat. I never fit in. I always wore this hair flower, right? Like I did stuff like this I was always different. So then that was part of my programming. And then of course what happened is this lack of self-love, this lack of validation from my close ones led me to an addiction. And I'll talk more about that addiction in a little bit, but I just want to finish the story of how I ended up in Canada. I ended up in Canada actually for studying, and had no idea that I'm going to end up staying here. How life happens, none of us plan so much, but it just happened. Yeah, and then ended up having an arranged marriage, a semi-arranged marriage. My parents were like, "You're so old. Look at this guy. He's really good looking, good family. That kind of a thing." So there is no real pressure, but there is so much pressure, right? Like you were single. Why are you so single? So my ex-husband was very good looking, so I said yes. And of course, we got to know each other. It wasn't like that traditional marriage. We had a long, we got to know each other. We liked each other. And then, as life would have it, I became a mother, and then ended up kind of on my own. And I want to say something, because many people ask me what happened to in your marriage. Why did you end up leaving your husband or divorced and everything? See, what happened in my case, and which is also true in most relationships, is I made a lot of mistakes, and I will say that it is all my fault. 100% of it is my fault. And the reason is because me and my ex-husband, we just never had the friendship. So, this is what happened. And from there on, I kind of ended up, when my marriage ended, I kind of ended up on dating applications, Tinder, Craigslist, Shadi.com. So I never used, but like Plenty of Fish, whatever you call it. And that's where I was a full-time single mother, but I also kind of was lonely. I was like, because the programming that I had is that my worth is based on having a relationship, right?
Like, and I stayed single.
Yeah, Yeah, because it's not safe. Your worth is based on your relationships. It's based on your paycheck. It's based on the car you drive, the house you have, the number of children you have. But nobody talks about yourself inside, right? Like, what you're going on through inside. So, I had this divorce, and then I had a job. I worked in the banking industry, and I was making a lot of money, but I was really unsatisfied. So I was like really suicidal, but ended up on these dating applications looking for love, looking for a way to end my pain. So then from there, I would be texting men, and I'm really embarrassed about sharing this story, but I would be texting men and at 10 o'clock at night, and they'd be like, how are you? It didn't matter that I had $5 in my bank account. It didn't matter that I was fat and overweight. I would just turn around and say, always sexy, always brilliant. And that became...
You just went with that confidence about you.
Yeah, I was like, how are you? Always sexy, always brilliant. So, for the first time in my life, I didn't want my worth to be associated with what everybody else thought about me, what my parents thought about me, what my family thought about me. The cultural programming, my goodness, is really strong. It doesn't leave you even when you move overseas to Canada. So then that mantra of sexy, brilliant, always sexy, always brilliant kind of stuck with me, and that's where it started really. Then soon after I quit my job.
You gave yourself a virtual persona, should we say? About being sexy, brilliant, even though you were going through all the pains?
I would say I would just stand in front of the mirror, and I was like, who am I? What am I? And then, the more you question, the more you kind of connect to your inner self. And of course, I was spending, I always have spent a lot of time in meditation, a lot of time in nature, and animals. So and I would do this outside. I would sit by the river, and I would ask myself, who am I? Should I jump into the water, kill myself, or should I go inside and ask, who am I? So then it's through that, those voices started coming. Sexy, you are sexy, doesn't matter your size. So that's where the shift happened, Neeta, like going within.
So through this time, obviously I see there has been the low of depression that must have seeped in. I mean, you must have defined it very clearly that it is not sadness, or it's not that you're sad, you are depressed, you're not getting a hold of your life, or you need to move on. Who did you connect with on this first, or who noticed that in you? Did anyone notice it in you? So, because you are so cheerful, even now I see you're very cheerful. It's most of the people who are depressed, the first area is that we don't understand that they're going through this, they're depressed. So did anyone notice about you, or did you reach out to someone?
Well, what happened is, throughout all of this, the first thing my parents noticed that something was different. Obviously, they didn't know that I was going through so much trauma and so much pain, right? But then this internal voice in me came and said, you need help. Like somebody said, killing yourself is easy, right? So then I started saying, what, I need help. So the more I would question, I need help, guess what happened? The next thing, somebody walks in and they're like, oh yeah, I work at the hospital, I'm a therapist. The next person walks in, I'm a coach. So the universe is always working on your behalf. So then the right people will find you when you start questioning and going within. And I want to mention something else, Neeta. You mentioned that, you're always so chirpy. Were you also chirpy when you were depressed? Actually, what I've realized and research, what I've realized is that a person can laugh and still have all this trauma that they're going through. Right? We're all very good at putting up outside personas because we have to fit in and we have to manage ourselves. So even though somebody is depressed, they can still laugh and they can still find joy in that moment. But the thing, go ahead.
So continuing with that part where people, even if they are depressed, they smile, they laugh around, they join the clubs and everything, and when they're alone is when they face it. So for us to really help them out or to reach out, it becomes difficult. Isn't that a stress for people who are depressed to try, give it a different face to the society, that though they are sad, they still look happy? So, to prove that everything is fine with me.
What we have
Isn't
to do
that
is we have to do our...
for a person going through depression.
Oh, it is very toxic, and that's part of the challenge as well, because you are, you're looking for ways to fit in. You lose your own identity while making everybody else happy, right? So
True.
the thing I've realized is, the world has tried to keep us into boxes for a long time. Right? Shadi kar lo, get married, have children, get this good job, drive this fancy car, go travel 4 times a year. So success is measured by the outside. But what about the success that's inside? Right?
True.
What about the success that is your inner wisdom, your self-confidence, your self-validation, self-realization, and all of these things? What are those? Why are they not important? In fact, they are equally important, but the current system that we live in, the establishment that we live under, has done its best to put us in boxes and labels so that we are easy to control.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's what
the criteria of being beautiful, being someone successful are very different as per the society norms. True.
Yeah.
So this fight between your, loving yourself, the self-love that comes in, how did you own it? Because you have completely owned it. Now that when you look back, when was that moment when you changed, to owning yourself, your flaws, wherever you are, and when did you, adapt this love towards you?
So this is this journey of self-love. It's an ongoing process, right? Like even today, I had a coaching session before I came on this show, and I was like, I've been struggling with a little bit of depression, and it's a moment to moment. It's not like you're depressed and you're crying and you're like having all these, you have to take pills to survive. No, it comes in phases, right? Because it's all a part of our programming. Some of it is that we've inherited from our ancestors, our parents, our grandparents. So we always constantly have to let it go. So I was kind of feeling a little bit low, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to do my session. I want to cancel it. But then you have to push yourself. You have to say, you know what? I know in this moment, my ego, my mind is controlling me and it's telling me to, be lazy. But then you have to talk to your heart's self and say, you know what? I know that if I do this, I will feel better. So you have to push yourself continuously. And Neeta, to be really honest, we all struggle with self-love, even me, it's not an automatic switch. It's just a process of realizing that there is more to life than just the outside success. The real success is from the inside. That's the trick. And the real success is from what is going on inside, who you are as a person. Do you know your good side? Do you know your not so good side? That's success to me.
It's also about how you cut those voices, because even if you think, okay, you are good, you look good, or you are confident about yourself, but when you go out there, out to the world, and then one person telling you a negative thing about you, it does affect, right? And then the confidence just hits ground zero again. So how have you coped with this? You told me that you have faced body shaming as you grew up also, and then you got into addiction and things like that. So how did you come out of this? How did you reach out to your inner voice? How did you not make those outer voices the inner voice? Because over the time, after hearing, hey, you're fat, you come to a point where you agree, yes, I'm fat. and I'm really bad, I can't do things. And then people look at you with that. So how do we overcome this? Overcome these voices, the negative voices.
See, everybody, family, friends, parents, grandparents, everybody talks from their own level of perceived consciousness, right? So, for example, I spoke about earlier that my parents were refugees from Pakistan, so they always had this scarcity mentality. Very early on, I recognized it, but I was not able to do anything about it because, you are controlled in that environment you live in. You're 10 years old, you're 14 years old, and you're like, I always have food, I always have access to water, so why are you telling me about this save money, save money, save money, right? So you have to kind of have this awareness that what is coming is not necessarily yours, it's your parents', and then separate yourself from that programming literally, and then go within and say, who am I? Am I going to choose to live in the scarcity mentality, or am I going to move and say, you know what, I have access to universal abundance? So it's a conscious effort that we have to do, and it's the same thing for being fat or thin or like dark skin, light skin. Even men get fat shamed. Even men, men have a lot of stress too. So one thing I started saying to myself is, let's say today, as a fat person, I am compared to an extraterritorial being who weighs 500 tons, for example. Uske samne to I'm going to look thin. Right? Like if somebody is 500 tons and here I am 70 kilos in weight, or whatever, 100 kilos in weight, or 500 kilos in weight.
Reference.
Yeah, it's a how do you compare it, right? So you kind of have to say like, today the thing is thin women are liked or tall men are liked, but what if 10 years from now it's about that dark skin is in fashion, or fat women are in fashion. So it's a question of like, how you look at it. Then the second thing is, I realized that our emotions are commercialized, right? Like some big businesses, pharmaceutical industries, beauty industry, everybody has managed to commercialize the human emotions for their profit, their gain. But what can we do to take control of our emotions? We have to ask ourselves. And those questions, for me, those answers have always come through stillness and silence. So which means in meditation, in sleeping, going for long, 3-hour walks, going and connecting to nature and water. And that's where I have gotten my answers, when I have disconnected from the noise, my cell phone, and connected to myself in my spiritual sense. And then you're like, wow, you know what? This is true. I mean, so what if I'm fat? This is who I am. I have to learn to live with myself, and then I have to learn to accept myself, and then I have to learn to love myself. So, this idea that you need to know who you are, you need to know all of yourself. And then the next step from that is you need to practice radical self-acceptance.
Acceptance is the key.
Self-acceptance is the key. And then all of this starts from that questioning, that awareness, that wanting to know more.
There's also in the society, when you go out and say, oh yeah, when you debate on these points, when okay, I'm fat, and it is really discriminative in terms of the job offers, in terms of how people look at you, in terms of when you face an interview, the first impression, and the way people give those vibes to you. So when you start debating on these points, people have an opinion. Okay, why don't you just lose weight? That is what is given to fat people. Like when they say, why is the world discriminative about this? So the only thing that comes from most of them is, why don't you just lose weight? It's like, just 10 pounds. Okay, just lose weight. And what is your view on this? I would like to say, what would your answer be to such a person who just comes across you and says, why don't you just lose weight? Why are you, being there out and telling people about body positivity, be what you are and enjoy what you are, and not even try to, reach there. Just because you can't reach there, you're promoting this. What is your answer to such a?
First of all, I am not promoting fat or thin, or I'm promoting authenticity. You know, our brand, our nonprofit foundation, Sexy Brilliant, is all about being authentic. It's about knowing who you are, and it's about self-acceptance. Now, coming back to when somebody says you're fat, why don't you just lose some weight? You know, I personally, I listen to everybody. You know, like, okay, you'll tell me to lose weight. And in fact, on social media yesterday, somebody gave me this comment, and you should just lose weight. And then it became a big argument because other people jumped in, and I was like, I don't even want to answer this, right? So in myself, I'm actually a student of karate, and I do karate 3 times a week. I am a qualified dancer. I do Kathak at least once a week, maybe even twice a week. I'm a yogi. I do yoga maybe once a month. You know, so you know,
I love that yogi once a month yoga.
And you know, like I'm not. I mean, I wish I could do more yoga. But you know, this is the reality, right? Like yoga patla karega, or you know, actually whatever.
Yeah.
That you know, we do what we can in who we are, right? I mean, we're not here to compete with anybody else. There is no competition. My only competition is when I stand in front of the mirror and I'm like, wow, you know, you have to like work with yourself. You have to live with yourself. So what I'm going to say is that to everybody who's like listening here, work on yourself. What I mean by working is exercise, health, food, mental health, mental well-being, all of that. Work on your holistic health, including sexual health too, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with accepting all parts of yourself. So that's what I have to say, that these trolls are trolls. Their job is to, because they're so unhappy with themselves, they attack whoever comes in their path. But then you have to be the bigger person and say, I'm so busy focusing on myself. I'm so busy writing a new book, going to university, going to school, that these trolls are not, you know, start having that loving relationship with trolls. That's what I've learned to do. And by the way, nothing scares these people more than saying, you're right. You know, when they say lose some weight, my answer is, you're right, I should lose some weight. And the argument is over, right? They have nothing else to say to that, right? And then you have to do what you have to do. So we all have these things. I mean, different people try to chip at you and take away your confidence. But what you have to do is be so confident internally from the inside that you become unshakable.
Yeah. True. From that, I would say about the book, why the title Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious? Is that all you?
Too fat, too loud. So the book is a self-help workbook, and you know, I started writing the book, then once in silence, and I was like, man, I'm so ashamed of being so ambitious, you know. I'm so ashamed of being so fat. I'm so ashamed of having such a big mouth, being so loud. You know, then that's where it started happening, that why should I be ashamed of being who I am? Like, Neeta, like, this is your skin color, your dark eyes, your height, it's all genetic. It's a God's gift. You don't choose to be in this, you know, in this body. So then I'm like, well, this is who I am, and if I'm struggling through this, I'm sure more people are struggling through this as well. So that's where this title came.
Many struggling.
Yeah, you know, and then I was like, and then of course, because it's a self-help book, our work is 100% social enterprise, non-profit foundation. I was like, what can I do to serve? And again, the idea was, can I do to serve? So it was service to others, and that's where it started, you know. So then again, I went through many other names, but this was the only one that fit right, that felt right. And then This is what the book title ended up being: Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious. And Neeta, I want to say something. You know, I talk a lot about intuition. I talk a lot about body acceptance, being too fat, too loud, too ambitious. The thing is, the more we listen to our intuition, the more our internal confidence grows, our spiritual confidence grows. And how do we listen to our intuition? Unprogramming, unlearning everything that we've been taught and going back to who we are. Is who am I as a person? What is my purpose in this life? And what can I do to make the better world? What can I do to make myself a better person, better being? Which is also, how can I love myself more? These are the questions you have to ask. And when you ask these questions and you unlearn all that programming, that's where the true you comes out through stillness and silence and meditation, prayer.
So basically, I think like a jigsaw puzzle, when you isolate a situation and look at it from, just one point of view, is when you think, oh, my life is all over. But when you put it in place, you accept it, and when you look at the bigger picture, it's all for a reason, right? Or the situations that you go through, or the fights that it just makes you stronger. It builds resilience in you. So there are people out there asking, how do you handle overthinking and anxiety attacks and panic attacks? So is that your point of view to them? Like, treat it, accept it. Yes, maybe today is not the day. Maybe tomorrow is a better day.
Well, so. I spoke about this earlier a little bit, and I said the ego is very lazy, it's very controlling. And what I did is, and I write about this in my book as well, I said my ego has a name. She's very dramatic too, so she likes to wear hair flowers, she's very loud, she's very ambitious, she's very fat. So what I did is I decided to separate myself from that ego. Like, you can't get rid of your ego, right? Like, I mean, you need your ego. For example, if you're in the mountains and a bear comes to attack you, what are you going to do? Your first instinct is survival. You run, and that's your ego that's working in your favor. So you need your mind, which is the ego. You need that mind. But when you come to your heart space, when you come to your, decide to say, I'm going to go to my right brain, which is the brain of the artist, the creative, the love center, then you will realize that love center is bigger than my stress, it's bigger than my anxiety. And then you learn how to kind of first the step is know both sides of yourself, and then start accepting not only your good side, so not only your love space, your creative space, but you also start loving and accepting your weakness. And in this case, the weakness is the logic mind, the mind that is always adding all the stress to you. So both of these two sides, the darkness, the lightness, is part of the same whole. So you can't run away from yourself. You have to start accepting who you are and accept all parts of yourself. All the emotions are not feminine or masculine, they're simply there. So you kind of have to say, you know what, I'm going to go within, I'm going to accept myself. This is who I am. And from acceptance comes a lot of self-love as well.
Yeah. So acceptance doesn't mean that you just accept.
And sorry, Neeta, I lost you there.
Remain fat and don't work towards it. Yes, keep your healthy life.
Yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, everybody is perfect as they are.
Am I can hear you,
yeah.
So I was saying, just to elaborate on your points, acceptance of being whatever you are does not mean that you don't work upon yourself. To better, you take it positively. Kill yourself for whatever flaws are there in you. If it is something that you cannot overcome, accept that and take an alternative way, right? I'm sure you have taken an alternative way to this, and that's how this sexy, brilliant movement. How does that help people? I mean, are you giving an alternative way there to people to accept themselves?
Yeah, so just to finish that point about acceptance, each of us is perfect as we are. And the goal is to get to the next level of perfection, right? Whether that is your mental health, whether that's your financial health, whether that is your sexual health, your emotional health, we are your physical health as well. So we're all perfect as we are, and we every moment of the day we want to do better than what we were 2 seconds ago, 5 seconds ago, 5 minutes ago, 5 hours ago, 5 days ago. So when we have this goal in mind, we are always getting out of our own way to live our dreams, to live on purpose. And of course, find out what your purpose is. Know who you are. Know what your purpose is. That's the biggest gift in life. But when we accept ourselves, guess what happens, Neeta? We make room to accept others.
True.
And that's the key, right? Like, so I'm fat, but imagine if I go and fat shame somebody. If I go and tell my daughter, stop eating, you're gonna get fat. See, this is my programming too, right? Like, it's like the pot calling the kettle black. So
it happens to all the parents, the moment the kids start, the adolescent stage is when I think we start pinpointing kids. Till then they're all cute, right? But the moment, that is when I think this discrimination or body shaming starts happening among friends, among peers, and parents body shaming their kids.
See, that's the thing, right? Like, we are always shaming people around us, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, we're judging others. So why not focus on yourself? I write this as well. How we judge others is exactly how we judge ourselves. So it's
this brings to the point where that means you're saying even body shamers are facing this inferiority complex within them, right? Are ostracizing society into these brackets. Okay, you need to be this, and maybe in life when they can't overcome their flaws, they also get depressed, or they also look down upon themselves. The body shamers that we met in school who bullied us for being fat.
Very much so, and you will notice this bullying comes from it comes from a lot of insecurity, because somebody who's happy and content with themselves, they don't have the time to go and shame somebody for being fat, loud, or ambitious, or being different. But when we are so unhappy within ourselves, instead of fixing our home, instead of fixing ourselves, we are spending all this energy fixing the outside world. So, especially parents as well, and I've done this to my family as well. It happened to me, and then my automatic reaction that was to do it to my loved ones as well. But then you have to notice your pattern and be willing to change that. See, that is where the awareness comes in. And the thing, Neeta, today's generation of kids, they're smart, man. They know everything. They will put you in your place because they don't have the tolerance that we did. We were told, "Karo nahi to maar padegi," or "Padti thi hume maar," right? Like, we used to get slapped around if we respectfully answered back our parents. So these kids will put us in our place, but we have to, our kids are perfect. We have to parent ourselves. That's the thing.
Yeah, true. I've seen childhood is such a clear slate. It depends what you write on it, because children are not discriminative of whether the kid is underprivileged, dark, skinny, whatever. They don't discriminate. When they have to play, they play. But it's the parents who will say, no, don't go near them, they are underprivileged, or if you do this, you will also become like her, or look at her, be like her, the comparisons and everything. I think we parents, it all begins at home, where these insecurities are put into our mind. As parents, or as even youth that we are today, among our friends, if we start talking positive things and start seeing the positive things in people and the good things in people, or things that, I'm not saying being fat is bad, but I'm saying look at other things that he's capable of or she's capable of, so that really helps, right?
And this is true, right? Like we talk about the positivity, there's this movement for, motivation, positivity. But what about the darkness? What about the negativity? Like I mentioned, I was depressed, but I knew I was coming on your show. So I had to pick myself up, right? Like I had to give myself my own motivation and say, yeah, okay, I'm feeling a little bit down. I'm not feeling on top of my game. So it's like you always have to acknowledge your weakness, your negative emotions. And an example that comes to my mind is a car battery runs on the positive and the negative. And it's only when both of them are ignited at the same time does the car start. It's the same thing for us, when we have our low moments, we have our high moments. The goal is to be like, not have such extremes. The goal is to be kind of at a balance all the time, right? So this is what we have to make sure that the negative is acknowledged and accepted, and then that the positive is also there and that they're functioning at the same time.
So that's where in one of the interview I've read where you said, the landscape doesn't change. It might become night and it might become day, but the landscape, which is you, remains. Right? I mean, that is what you need to keep going.
Yeah.
Very great. I mean, beautiful insight to that. I've never looked at life like that, right? Especially the car battery. I'll always remember that. So, when you came this acceptance and accepted the body positivity. And you said you still get into that phase when depression is something that comes and goes. And I see you're treating it differently, and it has made difference to you, of course. But the people who have known you, has it changed their attitude towards you? When you started accepting things, or you changed, did attitude of people change towards you? Those who were body shaming you?
Honestly, when I first started Sexy Brilliant, my parents were like, what are you doing? Go back to your beautiful job at the bank. You were making so much money. What is wrong with you? So I was like, yeah, and then you have to listen to your parents, right? Out of respect, out of love, and then you're like, yeah, but I don't want to, like, okay, Papa, okay, Mama. So then you have to kind of say, listen to everything, but finally listen to what your inner spiritual self is saying to you. So I was like, let me try this. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna try Sexy Brilliant. And now, and honestly, Neeta, when I started with Sexy Brilliant, I had no idea what I was doing. Right? There was nothing there. But it's only through being taking many small steps, many small business decisions, intuitively, your personal decisions, that you can get somewhere. So listen to everybody, but then finally you have to say, what? No, I'm going to go in a different way because life is different. But what happened for me was my parents, first of all, they were very angry and they were very upset, Then they kind of ignored me for many years. I would talk to them every day, but it would be very superficial. Then finally, their friends, their neighbors, they started talking about my work. They're like, your daughter is doing so well. Congratulations, uncle. Congratulations, auntie. So then my parents were like, what exactly is she doing? He's Sexy Brilliant, kya hai? So that was a good switch that happened for my parents, because I didn't have to do anything. I just had to stay relentless on my path of, living my purpose. So then that was the first step. Then they were like, Beta, do you need some money? How are you managing? So, so that shift started happening over many years later. It was like kind of like acknowledgement. But when your parents say, do you need any money for your business? That is when you've made it.
Yeah. They're ready to invest in you. Also, the moment is Sexy Brilliant, your brand name. In India, I don't know how it's taken in Canada. The word sexy has its own stigma. Okay, sexy means God knows what the business is about, and people have like a different idea about it. So what exactly does Sexy Brilliant Global NGO do? Like, who are the people who come to you?
So, the Sexy Brilliant Nonprofit Foundation, we are a registered organization, and our mission is to remove toxic shame and raise human consciousness. So one of the toxic shame, of course, is, being fat, being loud, being ambitious. So anything that has shamed us from being who we are, that's our goal. And especially we're focusing on mental health and addictions. And of course, we want to have that space for everybody to be themselves. The How Can Sexy Brilliant help is we have a lot of courses that are available on our website, sexybrilliant.com. We also have, of course, a lot of events that we do, speaking events, as well as we get guests and all that. Then we have a weekly podcast. Of course, everything that any of my work, my speaking engagements, all the money goes directly to the nonprofit foundation. So make sure that you are checking out Too Fat, Too Loud, Too Ambitious, checking out our courses. And you know what? Our mission is 100% social. There's a lot of free YouTube videos as well. So all of these, I'm a student, I'm a full-time student of life, and all the tools that I've used for my success are all shared freely with everybody who's there. So, and I know I share this with a lot of people as well. And my personal YouTube channel has a lot of tips, and let me see if I can find that here. I have the Sexy Brilliant cards, and then I also use the red. I talk about the manifesting with the red envelope. So there's a lot of tips that I have used personally for my success. So I encourage everybody to look at them as well.
And Devina, has someone who's the moment body shaming as a word is said, people immediately connect with someone who's fat. But there is another aspect to this. There are many people who are really thin, skinny, also facing the body shaming. Their face, they're too lanky. There are other aspects of body shaming where a boy is told, you look very feminine, your gestures are feminine, or a girl is told, oh, you are tomboyish, you are hairy, you have the boyish shoulders, you have broad shoulders, you're man. Or do they really reach out? Because I think the moment thin people and all, they really don't reach out. They think maybe it's okay to be mentioned like that, or they just let it be because they think nobody will take them seriously.
Yeah. So you know what, Neeta, we are all expected to fit into boxes and labels because that's how we are easier to control and manipulate, right? So and men face body shaming, men face, thin people face body shaming, of course women, there's so much shaming that goes on. So the thing to keep in mind is that, first of all, be conscious that whatever happens to you, you're not repeating the same thing to others. For example, this has happened and we spoke about this, right? I am being shamed, yet I also shame other people. So be conscious that you don't do that. And the thing is, I would also encourage everybody to get a confidant, to get a community, to find a way of releasing your pain and trauma. So whether that is through, talking to a therapist, talking to a social worker, a coach, your online community, if there are kids who are going through that, expressing yourself is important. Because when we express ourselves, we can also then, first of all, inspire others to, because you'll be surprised at how many other people are struggling with the same thing. And then we also inspire others to be authentic. And this is especially true when we look at people who are disabled, right, or differently abled. They are shamed as well because, somebody's in a wheelchair. And another example that comes to my mind is a woman who cannot have children. How do we, right? No, it's so bad. So we kind of have to say that, I don't want to shame anybody. I want to accept people for who they are. First of all, I want to know who I am. I want to practice radical self-acceptance. So I have more self-love for myself. when your own house is so full, you'll only see the world with love. And that's the goal, right? Like the journey to more self-love is love itself.
True. I mean, other than acceptance, do you think this also works, in dealing with loss of a person, of a loved one, or dealing of a relationship, loss of relationship or loss of a partner? Like in your case, you got divorced. I mean, how does acceptance help over there? Okay, you accept, but then still the world treats you differently, right?
Yeah. So I think one, acceptance is a big word, especially when it comes to like loss of a loved one, the end of a relationship and everything. It's for me too. It's very hard to have that, because the logic mind knows that something has ended, but then the love space still has hope, still wants more, still has emotional pain and everything. So it's kind of like having that acknowledgement of all parts of yourself, saying that this happened, it served its purpose, but now it's time to kind of end this so we can have a new beginning. And that's the thing, right? Every ending leads to a new beginning, and that beginning is a fresh start and a way to and of course, I mean, we're from India, so we also have this big, we believe in karma, right? Like do good so that if good happens today and good happens in the next lifetimes also. And that
yeah, so we prepare. You are very hi. I'm sorry for the connection. Hi Devina, I'm sorry for the connection. I would mostly we have covered most of the questions with you. I just wanted to end it at a very beautiful note. Also tell the viewers a big thank you, and also I would like to ask if some of them would like to raise any questions or check with you on something right now.
Sure. Thank you so much, Neeta, for having me on your show. I love the idea of Story of Souls. What an innovative idea. So congratulations on that. I'm going to ask everybody to please go follow Neeta's platform, Story of Souls. And, they're covering beautiful stories. And I know I've been looking forward to learning more about the people you are connecting with. So thank you so much. And thanks for having me on your show as well.
Also, I have a great takeaway from today's session, especially when you said, we need to accept failures. Story of Souls have always connected with winners, and you have emerged a winner. But we would also cover stories where they have failed a couple of times and are okay, failing so many times and still trying and not left trying. Maybe they are not successful, they are not 100 crore company, or they are not published, but we will cover those stories who are struggling out there but are hopeful, hopeful of moving on, carrying on, and who have accepted, okay, failures do happen and are hopeful of success. I think these stories are also going to be very inspiring, and that's the takeaway I take from today's session from you. Thanks to you, Devina. We will put that across on Story of Souls. Any questions, audience? Thanks for joining us back again and following us. Yes, everybody likes you, Devina. I hope some of the comments are for me. I'm just accepting that some of them are for me too.
Yes.
See, I started being positive about myself already.
Make sure, guys, you're giving a thumbs up to Neeta as well. Give us the heart button, press the heart button. That's it. Yes, I see the hearts coming. Neeta,
yes, who loves Devina, please press heart buttons. And whoever loves me also double heart buttons. So, you can reach out to Devina. We will share with you all the details of her YouTube channel, her Facebook, her Insta. She's across the social media. Just type Devina Kaur and you will get her. And she is such a lovely, beautiful big heart person that she will entertain your questions and she will see that she has replied to you because she's gone through it and she knows where you are. Thank you so much for such a beautiful evening, Devina. I'll still wait for another 5 minutes since people are just joining in case they have any questions.
For sure.
Meanwhile, let's admire Devina Kaur for some time.
And I want to mention something, when you spoke about failures and success, and there are two things I want to finish with. One, success is how you define success, and success to me starts from the inside, right? And then nothing teaches you as much as your failures do.
Right.
So you can have all, like, you start 100 businesses and 99 of them are successful, but that one that fails, that's the place where you learn the most. So don't be afraid of that failure. That's the trick. So if you want to write a book, you want to start a new business, you want to travel the world, know that everything is possible. You just have to kind of take the first step. And give us the heart, guys. Neeta is waiting on you. Give us the heart. Gary's here. Gary.
Yes, he has very rightly said, not Devina, it is divine. Okay, Devina, one last question. With the Happiness Day gone just yesterday, we celebrated International Happiness Day. What is your mantra for happiness? I see your pictures, they're all vibrant and big laughter and there's so much joy in your pictures. What is your mantra?
Okay, for everybody who's here, men and women and people who don't define themselves with a gender, everybody has to start wearing a hair flower.
So is Gary Singh wearing a hair flower?
Gary, das de. Arjun is here. So the hair flower, of course, is my personal thing. Flowers, of course, connects you to nature, right? So it's a way of being in your spiritual power all the time. But my thing is choosing to be the happiest person that you know. That's the thing. Choose to be the happiest person you know, in spite of the stress you have, in spite of the anxiety that you're going through, in spite of all the darkness that we all go through, because everybody goes through pain and suffering, but it becomes a choice to live in that. So choose to be the happiest person you know. My personal daily goals are to laugh 100 times a day. So, laugh as much as you can, make a goal, and it's the yogi in me. So
100 reasons to laugh, right?
100 reasons to laugh. Because the goal is to be the happiest person you know. So, find ways that speak to yourself and that you can find that joy in those little moments. I'm happily doing this presentation with you.
Thank you, Devina.
Yeah, so
thank you so much.
Happy. And thank you, Neeta. I love you.
Thank you so much for this evening. It was beautiful talking to you. Naikya ji, thank you. Dhanyavad.
Bye, everybody. Make sure you go check out Story of Soul.
Yes,
Bye.
please go check. And in case you still missed out on asking a question, you can personally ask to Devina. We will lead you on with the contact details. Thank you. Bye. Good night. Good day for you. Thank you.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Good night.